Hello. We have two longer stories today from Am I the Jerk, with some flavoring of family drama added to the dish. Both took top awards in the last month and have stopped getting updated, so they're ready to read. As always, your support helps fight the Reddit bot menace. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Our first story tells of a sister who, after a lifetime of bowing to one of the most pathological people I've ever read about, decides enough is enough and puts on a show for the whole family. In Story 1. Am I the jerk for shouting at my sister while she's on her deathbed? I'm a 26-year-old female, and my sister Nancy is a 39-year-old female. We have had a strained relationship for as long as I can remember. For a bit of background, Nancy's parents were my late aunt and uncle who passed away in a car accident when she was 6 and my parents adopted her. Growing up, I realized that she got more love and care than I did, but I just wrote it off because I didn't want to blame her for her trauma or how she handles triggers. When I was a teen, I got tired of her always needing to trump my accomplishments or be the center of attention. I finished high school when I was 16, and after I received my matric results, my parents planned a big party for me. But the week before, Nancy fell down a flight of stairs and my party had to be canceled. As I was sitting in the waiting room with my parents, I had an epiphany and realized that a lot of her accidents coincidentally happened when something big was planned for me. For example, a month before my 21st birthday, which was going to be spent on a cruise, she started having dizzy spells, and a few days before, she fell off the roof as she was trying to patch a few leaks. Rightfully, I was upset, and my parents lashed out at me for being selfish when my sister got injured trying to do something to help them. When I graduated with my MBA at 22, she got very sick after eating shellfish, which everyone knows she is deathly allergic to. The day after my partner proposed, she got into an accident while driving on a sunny day with great road conditions, saying that she didn't see a light pole or something. He threw me a surprise engagement party, and guess who accidentally ate prawns and was rushed to the hospital halfway through the party? To avoid any drama at my wedding, my partner and I decided to elope with a few friends. And it was the first time something was all about me for once. My parents were bitter about not being part of the wedding celebration, so we planned a reception type thing for friends and family on our second anniversary. My dad will walk me down the aisle, and my mom will do the something old thing, etc. They had been buzzing with excitement and looking forward to the wedding. The event is this coming weekend, and guests have already started flying in as they want to celebrate the whole week and treat it as a reunion of sorts. But like every other big moment of my life, I am writing this post sitting in the hospital waiting room because Nancy apparently had a big psychotic break because her boyfriend dumped her in February. So there's a psychiatrist admitting her for 21 days as he believes she's a danger to herself. My parents are trying to talk me into postponing because it would be heartless of me to celebrate while my sister is cuffed to a bed for the next 3 weeks. I had a meltdown of my own and told my sister that if she wanted to go to heaven that desperately, could she not have done it when we were younger so I could be spared from all her drama? Now there's a handful of family members who are calling me a cruel bridezilla for taking my stress out on my sister when she's so unwell. I told all of them that I would be proceeding with the wedding as a lot of time and money had already gone into it and they're welcome to mope around the hospital to support my sister. They told me that I was unfair for making them have to choose between a party and my sister who was on her deathbed. Edit to add, I know she isn't in her deathbed. Any sane person reading this post knows she's not on her deathbed. But to my family, this is a life or death situation because only God knows what they'll do to her in there, and they're especially incensed by the very limited visitation. They're convinced the psychiatrist is doing it so she can get pumped full of medication and so the hospital can make money, yada yada yada. Update 1. First, my sister tried to discharge herself by signing a refusal of hospital treatment, which wasn't successful. She apparently had a whole meltdown and hurt one of the staff members, so she had to be sedated and restrained. After I heard about this, I decided to call her psychiatrist up again and told him that this is part of her MO. She'll get hurt, and then once she's gotten enough attention or something of mine has been canceled, she'll then get herself discharged because she's miraculously feeling better. And I think that's what she was banking on now, but what she didn't consider is that psychiatric hospitals operate very differently from regular hospitals. I also think she realized that for the first time, her plan wasn't working, and I'd still be celebrating something, and she tried getting out so she could physically disrupt the ceremony. But oh well. The day after I made the post, I took the suggestion quite a few people made and created a whole spreadsheet of the incidents. I went through the discharge papers my parents still had at their house and went through a deep dive of my iCloud to find old pictures and stuff of special moments in my life and then compared all the dates. Lo and behold, there were 11 special moments and 10 discharge papers, all with eerily close dates from a few years before my 16th birthday to now. I showed this list to my parents, and nothing. They decided to stick to their guns, telling me that my sister has always been clumsy, and the stress of big events would obviously make her more prone to getting hurt. I then asked them why she never had any accidents before or after her own milestones, like her graduation or her engagement party, and I didn't get an answer. I felt my heart break into a million pieces and decided to just cut my losses because I really was talking to walls. I then told them that I was okay with them not attending the wedding ceremony they had guilted me into having, and that I had enough people who truly love me there to support me. I also told the other flying monkeys in the family that they had my permission to stay away and go sit in the hospital, waiting on someone who currently isn't allowed to have any visitors. I then switched my phone off so that I could focus on getting ready for Saturday, and all communication had to go through my partner, who was filtering out everything before it reached me. The ceremony started off great, and I actually don't regret doing it, even though I didn't want it in the first place. It felt so darn good to see relatives and friends I hadn't seen in a while. Halfway through, my parents arrived and my dad started talking to other relatives about how disappointing it was that he didn't get to walk me down the aisle a second time. How he didn't raise me to be so selfish by celebrating things while my own sister is probably chained to a bed with no one there to support her. My relatives then talked him into leaving, and I didn't hear about his tantrum until this morning, which I'm very grateful for. My relatives also had to deal with a friend of my sister's turning up to the reception in a white dress. But the joke was on her, because I was in a modern traditional basutu dress and I still fully stood out as the bride. Right now, I honestly just feel numb and defeated, and it feels like I've lost my family even though they were never really family. It hurts to be in this situation, and a part of me is mourning what could have been or what I deserved but never got. A lot of people told me that going no contact is never easy, and I think it's finally starting to sink in. But a lot of people also told me to focus on the good. I have a lot of good things going for me now, and I should be in the moment. This might not be the dramatic update people were expecting, but that's all there is for now. A few people asked, so here's a link to the inspirational photo I used when getting my dress made. Oh my gosh, the dress is gorgeous. It's so elegant. Check it out. It's not her actual dress, but still, drawing inspiration from that, I bet she looked amazing. In the comments, Sailor Saturn said, "The fact that the sister will purposefully harm herself in ways that could literally end her in order to prevent OP from getting the slightest bit of attention indicates something is seriously wrong with her mentally. And as long as her parents enable that behavior, nothing will change." She got what was coming to her, but I actually kind of hope the sister gets genuine psychiatric help because something is very, very wrong with her. Knitted Jedi quoting, "My relatives also had to deal with a friend of my sister's turning up to the reception in a white dress," said, "Do these people not have lives of their own?" Sad Small Chicken replied, "Reddit has taught me that a lot of spiteful people have too much free time." Knitted Jedi added, "Makes me grateful for the caliber of my friends, honestly. If I asked any of them to gatecrash a stranger's wedding in a white dress, they'd give me lip for the rest of my life, as they should." Drix22 said, "I work psych through and after college. Most of the inpatient patients I had were never visited by family because they'd burned their relationship bridges. It was rather sad. The family that did show up, though, you'd meet with them for a care plan or something and leave thinking, well, now I know why Jonesy is Jonesy. OP's parents are enablers." OP is not the jerk. Sounds to me like she has a narcissist on her hands, and while I do love me a good spreadsheet, they are unfortunately no match for this type of villain, especially when there are familial reinforcers, let's call them, who feed into this alternate universe where OP's sister sits at the center. No contact is really the only hope, and this story also shows that blood is not always thicker than water. You may be saying to yourself, "But Cece, she is family too. She was the niece." Well, you ought to go look up the origins of that saying because it does in fact reference the womb. A little factoid you probably don't need. Anywho, onward. Our second story continues with the family drama theme, but it delivers an entree of pure rage bait of the sheer audacity. If the first story was akin to sipping tea, our next one is a shot of pure fireball tequila. In story 2. Am I the jerk for yelling at my pregnant sister-in-law and telling my husband to choose me or her? See, I know the title sounds wrong, but please hear me out. I'm currently typing this all up while my husband's entire family is sitting downstairs. So, I, 29-year-old female, have been married to my husband for 8 years. About 2 months ago, I had my third miscarriage, 31 weeks. I won't be talking about it because it makes me feel so depressed, but you'll need to remember this. About 4 months ago, my sister-in-law, 20, came crying at our doorstep telling us she's pregnant and her boyfriend didn't want anything to do with the pregnancy and had nowhere to go. My husband and I openly took her in, welcomed her into our home with open arms. For the first few weeks, it was really hard for her, understandably. I sat with her for hours, holding her when she cried, binging our favorite TV shows, eating so much ice cream we quite literally fell into a coma. It was really bonding for us, so I thought. Here's where it starts going downhill. I take pride in my neat, clean home. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, did not. She would leave her clothes all around the house, leave her dirty dishes wherever, even went as far as leaving her lady toys on our living room table. I tried to talk to her directly before I talked to my husband. She immediately started crying and told me she would try to be cleaner. I hugged her, told her it was okay, but this is a clear boundary for me. She told me it wouldn't happen again. But it only got worse. She told me I was expected to do her laundry, dishes, and clean her room daily because she's the pregnant one. Well, I do understand how hard it is being pregnant. I just couldn't allow feeling like a maid in my own home. Disclaimer, I bought this house, not my husband. It was all me. Not to mention my recent loss of my child. So I told my husband, but what he told me shocked me. His exact words were, "Honey, she's going through a lot right now. We really should be helping her out. Plus, it might make you feel better to take care of someone who's pregnant." I was miffed, to say the least. Make me feel better? She's going through a lot? We need to help her. Letting her stay with us wasn't enough? While I don't want to invalidate her pain, my husband and I were also going through our own problems. Anyway, we moved on. I did my best to maintain work and the household chores. My husband works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so he isn't around to help much. I work full-time from home, so it's been super stressful. When I even try to ask for help from my sister-in-law, she always makes an excuse, even if she's just watching TV. The one thing that pushed me over the edge was I went out to buy my one food that I have actually enjoyed eating after my miscarriage. I wrote my name on it and directly asked my sister-in-law to not eat it. Well, I went to go to my fridge to get it, and you'll never guess. She freaking ate it. Now you may think, it's just food. I buy all the groceries, basically pay all the bills. I don't mind people having some of my food, but the one thing I ask to not be touched gets touched. I told my husband, and of course he rubbed it into my face that she's pregnant. I need to be less selfish. And life is about sacrifices. I was so upset, I told him I felt like him and her were the horrible roommates people talk about on Reddit. He didn't take that well. Which leads us to my title. My sister-in-law planned a random baby shower party thing at my house. I personally didn't know if I could even be home when this was happening. I felt so hurt that she wouldn't talk to me knowing everything that has happened and that she would just invite random strangers into another person's home before asking. My husband urged me to go, told him it would permanently affect mine and her relationship, so I told him I'd go. About halfway through the party, my husband and sister-in-law announced that they wanted to show the nursery to everyone. I was confused. Nursery? She was staying that long? What room did she turn into a nursery? They told everyone to head upstairs. That's when it hit me. They were talking about my nursery for my baby I had just lost. A wave of emotions hit me when I saw everyone in my baby's nursery telling her what a good job they did setting it up. My setup for my baby that my body failed to give me. I just lost it. I started sobbing, then that sadness turned into pure rage. I started yelling at my sister-in-law, telling her she's the foulest human for putting me through everything she has for the last few months, making me feel like I was a maid or an object for her convenience. Through choked up tears, I turned to my husband, whose jaw was on the floor. I turned my head to see his entire family just staring at me. I lost it again. Yelling, I looked at my sister-in-law, telling her, how dare she use my nursery for my baby? How dare she think she has the right? What she told me made me fall to my knees, sobbing. It's not my fault you couldn't produce a child. Why let this go to waste? You're so selfish. My husband tried to pick me up off the floor, but I yelled again, standing to my knees, which were now shaking. I told him, pick. a dumbfounded look on his face. I yelled again, "Pick! Me or her?" He couldn't even muster up anything to say. I just looked at him. Pure betrayal. I pushed past the crowd of family and ran straight up here to type this out. Even if no one sees this, at least it's helped me let these emotions out. Now's the point where I ask, am I the jerk? Update 1. First, I just want to address a few comments. You can skip past this part if you don't care, lol. I know I had a stillborn. The only reason I say miscarriage is because that is what my obstetrician told me was happening. Second off, some people have been saying this story is fake because of the way I described the argument. Falling to my knees, pure betrayal, yes, I figured out I spelt it wrong. I can assure you it is not. I cannot make anyone believe me, but this is my life, so you can either think it's fake or not. Here's the update everyone's been asking for. Buckle up, it's a long one. After posting my story on Reddit, I sat on my bed, wiping my tears and telling myself I will not take this disrespect. I walked downstairs, shutting my nursery door on the way. I was greeted with everyone comforting my sister-in-law. I kindly asked everyone besides my sister-in-law and husband to respectfully get the F out of my house. After all the dirty looks and shaming, it was just my husband, sister-in-law, and myself. They sat themselves on the couch, not saying anything. I sat with them. The silence felt like forever. None of us had anything to say. I knew I'd have to start the conversation. I looked at my husband and said, "Did you decide?" He looked at me just staring. I asked again, in a firm tone this time. He ended up mumbling some sort of insult, and I couldn't really make out what he said. Something with a pejorative about a female dog. I stood up and told them both to get out. Then they wanted to talk, telling me this is all a misunderstanding, they're sorry, blah, blah, blah. I grabbed a backpack from my shoe closet and told them to pack their stuff up. My sister-in-law told me I couldn't just make her leave, and I was a horrible person. I laughed in her face and told her this is my house and I can do whatever I wanted. My husband stood next to me and told her it was only for a little while. I turned to him and said, "Oh, you too, get out." He got all mad and told me we were a married couple and that this isn't how marriage works. I told him, no, it is not. Marriage is where two people support each other and not treat their wife like dirt. They both ended up leaving after many insults towards me. Oh, but wait, it's not over. This morning, I was getting ready for a Zoom meeting with a few other coworkers when my husband showed up. I let him in, telling him to get whatever he needed and to go because I had to work. He started apologizing and telling me he wants to make it right. I told him I just need time away from him. Then he threw in my face, "Well, it's not my fault you lost our children. Maybe this would have never happened. My sister was right. You are selfish." I have never, ever made my husband feel like he cannot grieve with me over this. Never made him feel less than because of his pain. I turned around and slapped him in the face. I never condone violence, and I'm very upset. I would never do that to another human, but I just couldn't deal with this. He took a step back and then threw all of my makeup on the floor, which I get, but then he started breaking all of my decor in my bathroom. I yelled at him to stop and that I was sorry, but he just kept going, even going as far as punching a hole in my bathroom wall. It was like I was seeing all of his bottled up emotions from our child's death come out. But he went too far when he tried to grab me, yelling in my face. I kicked him off and told him to get the F out. He walked out of the bathroom and I watched him break a few more items as he left. The second he left, I had a panic attack, looking at the mess he made to even just seeing how much he hid his pain. I called my mother and told her everything that has been happening. I don't talk to my family much due to some past trauma with them. She told me she was on her way. The second she got here, I just broke down and she held me. Then she stood up and started taking pictures of everything he broke. I asked her what she was doing and she turned to me and said, "We're suing this jerk." I honestly didn't even argue. I was so hurt by everything my husband did to me. My mom packed up my computer and I grabbed a few outfits. My mom and I drove to a hotel and she insisted on staying with me. While I finished up work, my mom called a locksmith and my attorney. I will be divorcing him as well. So there it is. Here's the update everyone has been waiting for. I feel guilty for just giving up on my husband and 8 years of our marriage, but it's time for a divorce. I can't live like this, and neither can my husband. I wish I could say we moved on, forgave each other, and I got to see my sister-in-law have her baby, but that's not reality. If anything else happens, I will let you know. In the comments, Peppermint Valet said, "To be honest, I'm just happy that at least her mom reacted the way a mom should." Paradoxical Queen replied, "She's the only family member who reacted appropriately here." Lover of Shawarma added, "Including everyone at the baby shower." Throwaway 747 said, "I did the rough math. They were holding the sister-in-law's baby shower around what would have been the OP's due date, in her house, giving away her nursery. Nah, I would have gone scorched earth on all involved. A key for a thief replied, Wait, what? I would have burned everything to the ground too. The audacity for the husband and sister-in-law to go behind her back in her house, then steal the nursery she created for her baby that she just lost not too long ago is mind-blowing and fury-inducing. I don't blame her at all for losing it. Stalker of the Dead said, It's almost like the husband was using sister-in-law's baby to replace the one they lost, but totally forgot his wife was an actual human being that lived in his house. Undo replied, It's the wife's house. It's a sad situation all around. I'm not sure I'm feeling quite as generous as that last comment. I'm going to have to go with not the jerk. Who are these people? To think that everyone at the shower stood around while the sister-in-law said those things. She'll be a lovely mother. Sounds like the type to ask if the closet in the bedroom will fit a child in it. OP definitely deserves a fresh start. Running solo is better than being saddled up with this lot. And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. Yahoo! If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.